current ordinance says that violation of any, the violation of that particular section of this chapter shall constitute a criminal offense, which a citation may issue returnable to Frankfort District Court with a fine not less than 50 or more than 500, or imprisonment for a term not to exceed 30 days, or both a fine and imprisonment. So to clarify, if we pursued even the smallest of those options, I'm sorry.
From my recollection of the ordinance, because I don't have it right in front of me, with respect to the failure to pay the garbage fee, the remedy is to go to the Board of Code Enforcement after you issue 2 notices to the delinquent party. And I would say that you would probably not want to go set up a mechanism where you go to district court to seek a misdemeanor just because the judge is not going to be very sympathetic on a citation like that.
Sure. Just let me understand that.
And I can go, if you want to, and look at that ordinance.
No, it's fine. We got it right here.
Okay.
The criminal offense is for hazardous. That refers to hazardous. I do have some other questions about the draft ordinance. Without objection. Bulky items. Items such as tires, used propane tanks, and this is existing. This isn't even a change. Items such as tires, used propane tanks, metal poles, and swing sets will not be collected by city personnel. Wrong. I thought most metal poles could be recycled.
They damage the trucks.
Okay.
The hydraulics in the trucks.
Yeah, they go to the side of the truck.
There's a piece of language in here on 50.03 that specifies 35, 65, and 95 gallon wheeled containers. I'm wondering if that's a problem, considering the fact that different cart manufacturers are subject to a margin of error. As in, depending on which cart manufacturer proves to be the most cost effective, we could end up with 34, 65, and 96 gallon carts, or 33, 63, and 93, etc.
Or too specific in case we...
That's a concern, is that this requires us to get, this language would require us to get very specifically 35, 65, and 95 gallon containers.
We can have the language approximate in there.
That would be great, because that would allow us to choose the most cost-effective option instead of locking ourselves into something that might not be the cheapest.
So the rest of you are going to agree with what he says? Takes 3.
Just for clarification, on 50.03 subsection D, well, this is the revised subsection D with regards to ashes. Ashes shall be separated from all other types of waste, and the ashes shall be completely extinguished and placed in an airtight, non-combustible container. Just to clarify, I know this is existing, this is from my own understanding. When we say that ashes shall be separated from all other types of waste, I assume that means that you can put ashes in a bag and put that bag in the trash can with other waste. Right? I mean, they don't need a separate, as long as they're not mingled. Is my understanding correct? I did not.
Right. The way I would read that, of course, we've never had an issue with it, right? But my understanding would be that there was a concern that people were putting ashes in the trash that were still burning. Right. And so that's why you had to put it in an airtight, non-combustible container. So, let's say you had an empty 1 gallon paint can.
Yeah.
You could put it in there, put a top on it, seal it, and then you could put it in the trash. Right, but I don't think you could put it in a paper bag just because that's not right. So if we need to revise that, we can, but I think that's the thought behind that, and we want to avoid the fires. So.
It's never been an issue, and you're saying that it means what I thought it meant. So
it has been issued in the past.
Okay.
combustible parts.
Yes, we've
Trash
actually had trucks.
cans more.
It's been years ago, but we've had that happen.
Well, I had a neighbor who put ashes in his trash can, and it was after a day or so from when he had actually burnt the coals or whatever, and it caught fire, and Chief Possibly had to come down and take care of it for him. But yeah, I've always been wary of ashes because they can really cause a problem.
There's only one piece of this that I really have an issue with, and that's right underneath ashes, subsection F of 50.08. There's a whole new section in here that states that any container other than a city-issued container that is allowed to remain at curbside or roadside at times other than those permitted by this chapter may be impounded by the city. The owner of any impounded container shall be notified immediately in writing by mailing notice to the address where picked up or by placing a notice thereof in a conspicuous place on the premises or both. The owner may redeem such impounded containers within 30 days after the same are impounded by the city by paying the impoundment fee. Any container not redeemed within the 30-day period may be used by the city in any manner as the city may determine in furtherance of the waste control program, or may be sold to the highest bidder at a notice public sale for each, and the proceeds shall be deposited in the general fund of the city. Essentially, this says that if somebody leaves their private trash can at the curb, then we can take it and use it or sell it or whatnot. And I realize that there's undoubtedly I realize there's reasons for that. This is nothing that we've discussed at all. This is nothing this is a concept I was never aware of until looking at this draft ordinance. But I'm not very comfortable with us impounding people's personal property and either using it or selling it or requiring them to fee to get it back. I mean, if somebody leaves their garbage can out longer than they should, my understanding is that's currently a code enforcement violation. And I just assume we treat it like any other code enforcement violation, issue notices and fines, but
yeah, I would
about impounding cans.
I think it would be more palatable on that one in particular to be just worded in a similar way as 50.13. A notice of violation will be given and you have, X amount of days to remedy the situation, but if it becomes a repeat offense, every, week it's left out there, then that becomes more of an issue. Somebody gets left it out or something.
Is another, you got two people want to do that, you got a third one? I mean, you try to change.
Currently, they do tag it.
Oh, okay.
They do tag it first.
Okay. Because the way it's being proposed written, as Commissioner Wilder pointed out, is a little stricter than the other wording. So, do you see what I'm saying? In that, it doesn't. The other wording, when you talk about violation, states that you're going to give a notice, but this one says, one would assume if you read the letter of the law that you would immediately impound it. Is that how you're reading it too, Commissioner?
Well, yeah, I don't see a provision for giving notice. But even beyond that, I have a problem with the concept of impounding it in the first place anyway. I just assume deal with the trash container that's left out to the curb the same way we would deal with any other code violation. I'm just not comfortable impounding people's personal property, especially if we're then turning around and charging them to return it or to sell it or remove it. It's one thing to do that with cars under certain circumstances, but I'm just not comfortable with this, and especially since we would be encouraging people to still use those cans to set out yard waste and whatnot. They're going to be put out to the curb.
If I could suggest something just from an enforcement standpoint, is would the commission be willing to consider having 50.13A apply to this, which basically what would happen is probably to continue the current practice of giving the homeowner 5 days to remedy the situation, and then after 5 days of the giving of the notice, if they haven't moved the cans, and the city may send employees or other workers onto the property to effect compliance. So that, that does give that notice, But the problem is if they just leave those garbage cans out there a long time,
Sure.
The code enforcement process can take a long time as well.
Right.
And so, if they're sitting there for a long time, at least if you use the 50.13A, you've given them notice by posting it on the door of their residence or by sending those notice by first-class mail.
It would be on the right of way, it wouldn't be on their property.
Well, on the right of way.
That's a fine.
We can write it up and let y'all look at it.
Kind of like grass.
Yeah.
Weeds. Gives people written notice in 5 days to comply, and after the 5th day, then we would go out and check,
Right.
and a $25 fine may be imposed as per this provision.
Well, and that's kind of what I'm getting at is, it seems to be perfectly reasonable for us to, if somebody leaves their can out too long, for us to give them the 5-day notice, and if the time comes for us to affect compliance, if we can affect compliance with code enforcement by going onto somebody's private property, which we can do with grass and with other things, there's no reason we couldn't do the same thing with the cart to the effect that we just take it up and put it inside their house and charge them $25 and assess them a $25 lien. I mean, we can affect compliance and charge accordingly without actually impounding the can. And frankly, it seems that would even be a little easier.
Well, no, there's two of you. Are you agreeing to changes? Two of you? You have a third one? Change? It is an ordinance. It has to have at least 3 people to agree to a change in the ordinance.
I think that's half true, Mayor. There were never 3 votes to put this in the first place. In fact, it was never even 1. In fact, we never even discussed this before. It just got put in.
Oh, yeah.
Questions in there?
Each one of it. 50.06, prohibited disposal. Subsection A4, it shall be unlawful for any person to place any garbage or trash upon the property of another. Practically speaking, is probably, would never be an issue. I just generally prefer the letter of the law refer would be. It seems to be pretty reasonable for that to read, it shall be unlawful for any person to place any garbage or trash upon the property of another without the owner's express consent. If somebody wants to take somebody else's trash, it seems unreasonable for us to say that's illegal. I'm not a stickler for this because nobody's going to report a crime if that happens. So it's practically irrelevant.
There are some instances, though, where a household may have more trash. If trash pickup is maybe 4th of July on a Thursday and your trash is going to be picked up a day later, maybe on the following Friday, that you may experience more trash as well. That you may want to put something in there regarding that trash pickup following a holiday when you may have increased trash because, for 7 days I have this much trash. I know that, but if you throw an extra day in there, I may have more.
Does either the original wording of this or the suggested amended wording address that?
Well, it could be added except following a missed pickup following a day off holiday.
Well, we have to be careful because it reads, it shall be unlawful for any person to place any garbage or trash on the property of another except after a holiday, then that technically would give folks the right to dump all their trash on anybody else's yard right after a holiday. That is the only reason I suggested that we allow it with the owner's consent, but that's just food for thought. The cold hard truth doesn't matter in practical terms. being under consent, so it doesn't matter what the law says. As in, if two households want to do what you're talking about, it doesn't actually matter what it said. I mean, nobody's going to get.
You get into more like we have two tenants together. One tenant has too much garbage one week and they dump it in their neighbor's trash can without their permission. That becomes an issue.
And that should definitely be illegal.
That's not what we want to promote.
Sure.
Just the neighbors that work together that we'll never know, and as long as their garbage can lid is down and they work it out, that's reasonable. But I think it gets into more of the tenant issue of neighbors that don't get along. I mean, at nighttime throw stuff away in their neighbor's can and take up their capacity is the concern. Because some people don't get along.
No.
I think Katie and Jeff are both making good points. I mean, if folks are
We'll never know.
folks are kind of reasonable about it, it works out. That this doesn't need to be changed to reflect that. That's what those are for response. I guess that's all I have. Those are the only notes I had on the draft. Other than that, I know that y'all put a lot of work into this. A lot of work over the past few months. Between, all of you, between Rob and Tom and Jeff and Steve and you, Gary. I know that a lot of work's gone into this. I think this is a good, on the whole, I think it's a good draft ordinance. I think it's a good ordinance. And thank you all for putting it together.
Much appreciated.
One other further, we would pick up garbage quarterly where we wouldn't limit people on pickup. And I just want to clarify in the ordinance written, it says we would schedule an extra, I think what it meant is just quarterly we would schedule a free pickup weeks. And just one other thing, at 18 gallons, the bag we provide, in our conversations with the suppliers, 33 gallons has been what most people do for overflow bags. So I just wanted to have just a quick discussion on 18 versus 33.
I like 33 better personally.
As an overflow bag, just to have that point of discussion.
I've got mixed feelings about it at this point. In very cold, practical terms, and hindsight being 2020, I wish that we had always been talking about this in terms of 33-gallon bags. The catch is that if we go 33, then in order for the bags to be priced equivalently to the can sizes, then $3, essentially a 33-gallon bag counts as a can, right? That counts as a small cart. 2 of them count as a medium cart. 3 of them count as a large cart. And if they're priced at $3 a piece, then all of a sudden the bags become way more cost effective than the carts. Then, for example,
But the carts are monthly.
Yeah.
The bags might be weekly.
hey, somebody's been thinking about this.
You have no idea. You dream about it.
No, that's a great point. Well, because I've heard folks complain about, when am I going to get into an 18-gallon bag? I could go with 33. Great.
And how many would they get for their exemptions? Equivalent to the cart still?
I say you still get them 12.
Well,
Don't do like medical exemption or something.
Oh, yeah. That makes it easier to do the equivalent to the cart. Right. So if somebody wants bags instead of carts, then they get, for $0 a month, they get one bag a week.
52 plus the 12 extra. Like everyone else would get.
Sure. For $0 a month, they get that. For $4 a month, they get 104, and for $12 a month, they get 156. That which brings up another suggestion I was going to make. I know this is late in the game to make it. And this has been loosely discussed when we got some of this and some of the documentation we looked at. But I don't think we've ever had a real good conversation about it. For $12 a month, we might as well just figure out how many cars people need and essentially allow people to subscribe to unlimited garbage collection. I mean, because some folks, we've got a few scenarios. We've got the seniors on limited incomes with adult diapers, for example. That's one of the concerns we've heard about. It's just real hard to figure out a way to mitigate that. We got folks who think they're going to need like 2 95-gallon cans, which is that's a lot.
But they need it.
Sure, exactly. But there's I think some folks are just really into the unlimited collection, and are less concerned with the cost and more concerned with the service. And we have such I think the fee structure we've set in 0, 4, and 12 is really fair in a lot of ways. But it just seems that if the folks who are paying $12 a month, they're paying so much more than everybody else. If we could just let them sign up for whatever they need. If they need $295, even $295 for $12 a month or whatnot. I think that would do a couple of things. I think that would be a big benefit to the community. Some people, I think, would be really happy to pay $12 a month to get all their garbage picked up, straight up, as opposed to the current proposal. I think that would actually improve our revenue stream. I think that we'd see more people opting for the $12. I think we'd actually see more people opt into the larger cans if it were essentially $12 for unlimited, quote, unlimited collection. Does that make any sense?
What about tenants, rentals? Would one person as a property owner, say if I had a duplex, could I just get one big 95 for both of them? Or could I get
It would have to be.
fourplex? Could I get 2 of them and 2?
It would have to be per household. So, for example, with a duplex, then yeah, for $24 a month, you could get unlimited pickup for both of them.
You know.
You may have an enforcement issue arise there if you have an 8-plex.
Sure.
And they're
One person has the unlimited.
One person has the unlimited and everyone else gets the free.
Sure.
Then you may have an enforcement issue.
Sure.
So maybe 2 95s would be you could get up to 2 95s rather than unlimited. There's a lot of garbage.
Trash, that's a lot of garbage.
Sure. But that also suggests that you're under some special circumstances.
But could
Even
you
then,
also get 2
But unlimited means
buys?
a lot.
Or for $12 a month, get $265.
Well, I think we're.
Maybe we're too far down.
I really do. I mean, we've already got the orders. The survey's back. We have it broke down, and then you go back and say, okay, well, we've changed our mind. You can do the large. Then you're going to want to see people doing shifting around. So then you charge them the $20 if they choose to go up. It's a Pandora's box and a slippery slope if we go down.
That's fair. That's fair.
There's always the idea that if someone has a medical need, then we could supply it extra. We're doing exemptions for other things too. I mean, it's more work for us, but I mean, for those people that really need that second one for something that they can't afford, I mean,
That's what I'm getting at.
it's not as though
On a case by case.
Yeah.
And it's not always long-term either.
those medical items aren't necessarily recyclable. It's not that they're choosing not to recycle.
No, adult
They
diapers
don't.
are adult diapers.
They have no choice.
Multiple diapers and multiple diapers.
Okay. That's okay. Just so that everybody can see the numbers together. Any objection to me handling these are three sheets right here that are based on staff estimates, but they're amended to reflect the lower billing costs associated with biannual billing as opposed to quarterly. And then they're also with handwriting amended to reflect $80,000 in franchise revenue. And then there's an estimate here based on a 50% increase in recycling, a 30% and a 50%, just so we can see the range of a possibility. But I can just provide this for Ramona to make copies.
Still worth it for just $200,000 a year return?
That's on the, well, that's the beauty of it, is that's the low end. That's the 15%. Because I think there's a hidden benefit to there's a hidden benefit to that $200,000, which is that we're also reducing I mean, from my perspective, the fact that we're pulling in less revenue is a good thing. I mean, I realize that the fact that we're pulling in less revenue doesn't hurt our bottom line. Because our bottom line still improves. I mean, granted, under the worst case scenario, which is a 15% increase in recycling, which is a real lowball estimate. I mean, I haven't seen any other communities that saw that low an increase in the recycling rates. So that's a real safe lowball estimate. But not only do we save $200,000 in the long term, but we also immediately, right here, right now, save households significant amounts of money, over $300,000. And that's less revenue for the city, but that's also less money out of people's pockets. I mean, we can, from my perspective, in that sense, it's a win-win. I mean, we can lower people's bills right now. We can lower 97% of the bills in town right now and still save money in the future down the line. And I think, and a 30% increase in recycling, which would boost us up to, I think, a 42% recycling rate. That's a real moderate estimate. And that sees an improvement to our bottom line of about $350,000 over 5 years, while still lowering people's rates right now.
Can I just say one thing in these tables? And if you look over in the description of the account, it says medical costs, assuming fixed health care.
Yeah.
So we didn't put any COLA or cost of living increases into the medical, the health care insurance cost and the pension cost. We just assumed flat.
Yeah.
So we didn't know what it was going to do exactly, so we didn't try to project it. So because we could go back and put those in there, based on the experience rate, but we did not. This table, and also we didn't assume any cost of living increase for the employee, in those tables. So this table doesn't reflect that. I just want to make sure everybody knows that.
But that dynamic isn't specific to pay growth, and that dynamic.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
it's
exactly. But when you look at the bottom line number, it will impact the bottom number because those costs will go up.
The ordinance, the way it reads, I just want clarification. The bags going to 32 gallons, the city would provide 12.
33-gallon garbage bags.
Or 32, 33, whatever it is. To each residential dwelling. At no initial cost. So going forward, past the first year, I interpret that as 0 bags going year 2, 3, 4, 5. So they have to purchase those.
So no more free bags every year.
That's the question. That's the question.
Mine, based on our conversation,